The Elephants and the Mice. Long ago, there was a beautiful city with lots of large temples and houses. The city was prosperous and its residents were always very happy and cheerful. Close to the city was a large and clean lake. The water in the lake was very sweet. But with the passage of time, the city turned into ruins and its residents moved to faraway towns and cities in other kingdoms. They took all their belongings along, including their cattle, bullocks, goats, and horses. Even the stray dogs and cats decided to follow the residents of the city and moved out with them. Only the mice in the city decided to stay back. Even without any residents, the natural vegetation in the city supplied enough food for the mice that they decided to stay back. The city was lined with a lot of fruit trees. They could now eat a variety of fruits and vegetables that grew in the city. Slowly, the mice grew in number, and the entire city turned into a city of mice. Several generations started living together in the city. There were grandparents, parents, uncles, aunts, cousins, and lots of baby mice. It was one large micey family. They held their own festivals and get-togethers. They took great care of each other, in sickness and in health. Far away from the city, there was a very dense forest. A huge river used to pass through the forest, supplying clean water to all the animals staying in the jungle. Amongst the animals, there was a big herd of elephants. The elephants stayed in harmony with other animals in the jungle. The jungle provided them with ample food, water, and shelter. During one summer, the river ran dry due to very less rain. The animals in the forest started dying of thirst. The queen of the elephant herd asked all the young elephants to go in all directions in search of water. After a few days, one of the elephants came back to the queen elephant and told her about the lake near the mice city. The queen elephant at once ordered the herd to leave the forest and move towards the lake. As soon as the herd saw the lake, they started running towards it. They had not been in the water for many months and could not stop themselves from making a dash towards the lake. In their excitement, they did not notice that hundreds of mice were getting trampled under their feet. The mice tried to save themselves, but many were killed and injured. They also feared that on their way back from the lake, the elephants would unknowingly trample many more. An old mouse suggested that they should go and narrate the whole incident to the queen elephant. Further, they should request the queen elephant to take the herd from some other route. The mice did as suggested by the old mouse. The queen elephant was very sorry for the loss that the herd had brought upon the city of the mice. She assured the mice that the herd would take a different route while going back to the forest and would never come near the city of mice. The old mouse thanked the queen for understanding their concern. He also told the queen that the mice family would always be ready to help the elephants if need be. Many months passed away. The king of a nearby kingdom was raising an army and wanted a lot of elephants for his regiment. His servants went to the forest and laid traps for catching the elephants. They dug deep trenches and covered them with leaves and kept lots of bananas on them. The elephants, while trying to reach out for the bananas, fell into the traps. The servants pulled out the trapped elephants with the help of other tamed elephants. Once out of the trenches, the servants tied them up to the trees with the help of thick ropes and went back to inform the king. The queen elephant was one among those who got trapped. She kept calm and started thinking of a way to escape. At once, she thought of the old mouse and his promise of helping the elephants whenever required. She called one of the young elephants who had now fallen into the trench and was still free. She asked the young elephant to go to the city of mice and narrate the entire incident. The young elephant did as instructed. Soon, thousands of mice came running to the forest to help their friends in this hour of need. Within minutes, they cut loose the ropes with their sharp teeth. The elephants were free again. The queen elephant thanked the old mouse for remembering the promise and for rescuing the elephants from their captors. The old mouse was happy that the mice were able to help the elephants and thus repay the debt. The elephants and the mice became great friends. They lived in peace ever after. The King and the Drum. Long ago, there lived a king somewhere in the central part of India. He was very proud of his looks. He spent hours admiring himself, looking at his reflection in the mirror. There cannot be another king as handsome as me, he told himself and felt very pleased. He dressed himself in the finest clothes and put on the finest jewelry in the land. People grew tired of him as he hardly attended to their problems or the problems of the kingdom. He made sure his hairstyle was new every day and covered his ears. Yes, covered his ears. The king had ears which looked like donkey's ears. The only person who knew about it was the king's barber, Baiju. Baiju lived in a poor hut close to the forest with Gori, his wife. He constantly lived in fear as the king had threatened him with death if he ever told anyone about his donkey's ears. He was not even allowed to cut anybody else's hair or shave anyone in the kingdom. The barber couldn't sleep or eat properly. He was afraid to speak to anyone in the land because he was afraid he might mention it unknowingly. He lived a very morose and an unhappy life, although he was the king's barber. One day, picking up courage, his wife asked him, "Ever since you have been appointed as the king's barber, you don't speak to me or anyone. I see that you hardly touch your food or sleep at night. You spend hours staring at the water in the pool near our house. We were much happier when we lived in the old city on the other side of the forest with our friends." The barber did not reply. He just walked out of their hut and sat by the pool. The pool was surrounded by many tamarind trees. He sat down on a big stone and kept staring at the shimmering reflection of the leaves and branches of the trees. Gory followed him and sat beside him. She pleaded, "Please tell me, what is bothering you?" "I promise I won't tell anyone." Finally, Beiju said, "You see, the king has ears which are like a donkey's, and he has threatened me with death if I talk about it to anyone. I don't know when I might blurt it out in front of someone, so now I want to keep away from everyone. But I'm very unhappy as I miss my friends and I'm losing them all one by one." The tamarind trees heard every word he spoke and absorbed them. Beiju's wife promised that she wouldn't talk about it to anyone, but soon she too grew restless. So one day she went to the tamarind trees and whispered a secret to them by holding them closely. She felt better and returned happily. Festival season was approaching, and the drummers of the kingdom were busy making drums. Some of them picked up branches from the tamarind trees near the pool from the wood for the drums. When the day of the festival came, the drummers began beating their drums. But what did the drums beat? "The king has donkey's ears." The king was furious and called the barber to be executed. Beiju narrated that all he did was tell his wife while sitting near the tamarind trees. The drummers were questioned, and the king found out the truth. Then the wise men of the kingdom came forward and said, "No one should be punished, as truth cannot be changed, even if you punish the person who has divulged it. Instead, the king should be kind and rule justly. The people would love him in spite of his ears, if he was good to them." The king understood the truth. He kept the drums and the sticks in his chamber to remind him always to be a good king. The Snowman Goes Visiting. For many centuries, Yadred had lived in the mountains. The snow-covered landscape had always been his home. He roamed freely, feeding off the occasional sheep or yacked straight across his path. From a distance, Yadred looked like a giant covered with white hair. He was friendly, but no one really wanted to be friends with him, probably because of the ice winds and snow that accompanied him wherever he went. Yadred was the only snowman left on this part of the earth. He was 3,000 years old. When he was a mere baby, his father and uncle had moved from the Arctic zones to the Himalayas with their families. The change in altitude had taken its toll on all members of his family, except him and his uncle's daughter, whom he had later married. 500 years ago, his wife had died in an avalanche, leaving him with no children. Initially, he had enjoyed his freedom, but now he felt lonely. The animals that inhabited the mountains were scared of him. Occasionally, he had tried to visit the humans that camped in the mountains, but his size and appearance would scare everyone away. Most of them mistook him for a giant bear and ran away screaming, "Yeti! Yeti!" He assumed Yeti was the human word for run. Yadred never understood why. He looked similar to the humans, except that he was a lot hairier and was taller than them by 2 heads. His face looked nothing like a bear. He knew it because he had seen himself in the big lake one summer. Yadred often wondered where these humans came from. They traveled in groups, so he knew there were many more of them. One day, he decided to follow their tracks and see where they came from. He came to a village. There were many small houses in the village. It was dark, and he could see lights at the windows. He walked up to the house closest to him and peered inside. There were 2 humans sitting at a table. "Honey, it's really windy outside. Could you please shut the windows and pull the curtains?" said the woman inside. "The weather is really taking a turn for the worse," replied the man. "Wonder how long this will continue." The man closed the windows and pulled the curtains shut, blocking out Yadred's view. Yadred walked a little distance down the road where he saw a small boy playing in the snow. "Hi, will you let me play with you?" Yadred asked the boy. "Sure, I am building a snowman, and you can help me make it bigger because you're so tall," replied the boy. "The man, come inside. It's getting colder outside," a woman called from the inside the house. The boy quickly ran into the house. Yadred felt bad. He decided to go to another village, but the same fate met him there as well. He went to the 3rd village and the 4th, but wherever he went, people would lock themselves up in their houses. The 1 or 2 people who saw him on the road would either stare at him or run away from him, scared. Soon his sadness changed to anger. He was a nice person, and all he wanted was to be friends with these people. As he got angrier, the wind around him became colder, and it started snowing. This was a problem because he had reached the plains where it never snowed. Depressed, he sat down on the banks of a wide river. Cold winds howled around him, and it was snowing heavily. The water in the river had turned to ice. Across the river, a small pup was playing in the snow. All alone, it was jumping up and down, trying to catch the snowflakes drifting to earth, yapping merrily. Yadred watched the play. The sight of the pup made Yadred smile. After a while, another dog came and nudged the pup, and both of them ran away together. Realization struck Yadred. He would go back to the rest of his people in the Arctic. That was where he belonged. He had finished playing in the Himalayas. It was time for him to go back home. Snow White and the Good Witch. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, for all fairy tales begin like that, a queen gives birth to a baby girl. The girl is beautiful, with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as evening. They name her Snow White. Sadly, the queen dies after giving birth to her. Soon after, the king marries again. The stepmother envied Snow White as she is the fairest maiden in the whole land. She hatches a plan. She tells the king that Snow White was going away to live with her aunt for some time. Then she orders a huntsman to take Snow White to the forest, kill her, and bring back her heart and liver as a proof. The huntsman takes Snow White into the forest, but is unable to kill her as he was loyal to the old queen. So he leaves her in the forest with a promise that she will never return to the palace. After wandering in the forest for days, Snow White discovers a tiny cottage. She knocks, but finds no one at home. Since she is hungry, she enters the cottage and eats some food from the kitchen. She looks around the house and finds the whole place in a mess. So she sets about tidying up the place. Soon, the birds and animals living in the forest join her and help her in her work. The cottage belongs to 7 dwarfs. As evening falls, the dwarfs return home. They are surprised to find Snow White there. After she tells them her story, they invite her to stay with them. Meanwhile, the evil stepmother discovers with the help of her magic mirror that Snow White is still alive and is living in the forest. She poisons an apple and, dressed as a farmer's wife, goes to the dwarf's cottage and offers it to Snow White. Snow White takes a bite and falls into an eternal sleep. The dwarfs return and are surprised to find Snow White lying on the floor. They take Snow White to the Good Witch of the forest. The Good Witch places some herbs on Snow White's forehead, and Snow White wakes up. She tells the Good Witch all that happened with the farmer's wife. The Good Witch looks into her mirror of truth and finds out that it was actually the evil stepmother who was disguised as the farmer's wife and poisoned Snow White. Along with Snow White and her 7 dwarfs, the Good Witch goes to the palace and shows the king the truth in a mirror. The king is shocked and angry and throws the evil stepmother into the dungeon as a punishment. He decides to make Snow White the ruler of his kingdom. Snow White and her friends, the 7 dwarfs, then live in the palace happily ever after. The Undersea Adventure of the Blue Diamond. Once upon a time, there was a mermaid, a crab, a sea lion, a seahorse, and a sea turtle. They all lived together in the great Pacific Ocean. One day, as they were taking a nice cold swim, they came across a map to a treasure chest. On it was marked the Great Castle of Gold, but there were no directions. So all the friends set off to find the Great Castle of Gold, prepared for a long swim in the ocean. They swam for 2 days with no luck. On the 3rd day, as they were swimming, they met a fish named Tori. She was lost and did not know the way home. "Hey, can you guys help me get home?" Tori asked. "Oh no, we can't," they replied. "Come join us. We are going for a long swim to find the treasure," said the mermaid. "Oh, I saw something sparkling on my way," said Tori. "Where did you see it?" shouted everyone excitedly. "It was pretty far off," said Tori, "but I think I remember. And she started swimming away. Everyone followed Tori excitedly. After swimming for an hour, they reached the Great Castle of Gold. "Now, we need to find the chest," said the mermaid. "Oh, I know. Let's knock on the castle door," said Tori. So they all knocked on the door and waited. Soon, someone opened the castle door. It was the Blue Witch. The Blue Witch was a good witch. She was kind and helpful and beautiful. She had a silver and diamond tiara. All the friends were surprised to see such a beautiful witch. They thought all witches were bad. "Hi, we're the sea creatures of the Great Pacific Ocean. We found a map to a treasure chest in the Great Castle of Gold and came here looking for it," said the mermaid. "Welcome to the Great Castle of Gold," said the Blue Witch. "I'm the guardian of this palace. I can let you take the treasure chest. But before that, You will all have to complete a challenge. The sea creatures were all very happy to hear that, but they were also worried about what the challenge would be. Ooh, I love challenges, said Tori. The Blue Witch smiled and said, in the castle garden, there is a very heavy blue diamond, which is guarded by an old mermaid. Legend says that whoever is able to pick up the blue diamond and put it back into the great castle of gold can take the treasure chest. If you all are able to do that, I will let you take the treasure chest. The mermaid, crab, sea lion, seahorse, and sea turtle set off towards the castle garden. There, they saw an enormous diamond. An old mermaid was sleeping next to it. The sea lion walked up to the old mermaid and said, "Hello, we are here to try and take the blue diamond into the castle. May we?" The old mermaid walked up and said, "Yeah, sure. But I have never seen anyone who could lift it. You may try if you want to." All the 5 friends tried picking up the diamond, but not one of them could move it an inch. Then Tori stepped up to try. The friends looked at her and said confusedly, Can you pick it up?" Tori said, "I'll try." And oh joy, she was able to lift the diamond with one hand. Everyone stared at her in wonder. "Hey fellas, where do you want me to take this big piece of blue rock to?" asked Tori. "Into the castle," said everyone together. They all walked into the castle with the Blue Witch leading them. Inside the castle, they placed the blue diamond inside McPhee, the magic well. The Blue Witch turned to the friends and Tori and said, "Congratulations, you can take the treasure chest. But since Tori was the one who picked up the blue diamond, you will have to make sure that she becomes a part of your group too." Then she turned to Tori and said, "I will give her a magical house. Whenever you go somewhere and lose your way, you just have to say, abracadabra, zippity zap. Where is my home? Come to me fast." And your house will appear in front of you, so you will never be lost again. All the 6 friends were now very happy. They took the treasure chest and the map and started swimming back home, where they all lived together happily forever.